Welcome back, everyone. My name is David Bowler. I'm the creator of SKY GODZ, and today we're going to talk about what happened, or respectively what has changed in the storylines and the overall story since my last video from almost 2 years ago. Let's remember quickly how this entire thing happened. The idea behind SKY GODZ originally was sort of to create an anime based on the ancient aliens, ancient astronaut theory, with the twist that the astronauts didn't just come here and found a bare planet, as is being suggested by a lot of the authors and a lot of theories, but that there have been aliens living here for like billions of years, essentially since the creation of Earth. So when the astronauts come here, they're essentially like in the middle of a cosmic fight of epic proportions. So that was already written into the story back at the time. So when the Anunnaki came here, there was already a variety of races, there was a variety of artifacts from previous mankind's already here. And that sort of like led to more and more, how should I say, advanced ideas. So sort of like one thing led to another, and at some point I was like, okay, good. So if aliens were living on Earth, or have been living on Earth for billions of years, and Earth is the center of like this galactic, what would you call it, a war type of thing, this galactic conflict, and Earth is basically being used as a resolution of this conflict. What else has been going on out there? Which led me back to a lot of material I've been researching, over the last few decades on like the origin of the universe. How did it all happen, basically? Did it happen like the way that science tells us it happened? Hint, hint, hint. Of course it didn't, not in my opinion at least. Or, where did that consciousness that created the universe come from, and how did it get started? And I didn't really think that this was all possible to do in anime, because the anime just takes a lot of time. Just drawing every picture and just conceiving everything, it just takes too much time. And that's fairly early on the idea came that there should also be graphic novels. And down the road, there was I think it was on a conference about 4 years ago or so somebody says, why don't you make a game? And I really hadn't considered that yet. I've been in and outside the gaming industry for a long time, but I was like, okay, good, but how feasible is that really? And the more I looked into it, the more interested I actually got into that idea. And all of a sudden, it started to form well, this should be basically a transmedia project where the anime is the ancient aliens part, but there's a lot of characters in the anime, especially the Dracos and the Galactic Federation. A lot of characters are involved in that. They're also involved in other parts. So the idea then came to me that why don't I make the graphic novel about the origin of the universe and the origin of this entire galactic conflict, and tie the game into that, and sort of build this up in little bits and pieces. It doesn't all have to happen overnight. And I think that sounded like a much better idea, because graphic novels are fairly faster. I won't say easier to do, because nothing is really easy, but you can do a graphic novel in a few months. I'm not going to take you years. And even with a game, you always hear about these AAA games taking 10 years, 5 years, whatever. Yeah, but that's not what I'm shooting for. You can also make games and release levels at the time. So I realized all of a sudden, okay, good. So these two parts should basically be separate, yet tie in together, and should be released separately, yet tie in together. And it will be, drip fed basically one at a time. So the way we're starting out now is that I called all the parts of the transmedia section Stargazer. So you have Stargazer Lyra, which will basically be the first graphic novel and the first game levels that talk basically about the origin and the Lyran Wars. And we have Stargazer Gaia, which basically will be the happenings on Earth, the ancient astronaut stuff, which of course, if you look at a linear timeline, will be much later down the road. You know, I mean, I would assume that the stargazer Gaia with the Anunnaki is roughly about 200,000, 150,000 years, whereas the stargazer Lyra would be possibly billions of years. I mean, but I'm not really that concerned about the logical timeline, because time at the end of the day is sort of a construct of humanity. It doesn't really it doesn't factor in if you look at the cosmic dimensions of everything. I don't want this video to get too long, so all the text basically and all the background of the story will be posted on the website. I actually, for the Stargazer Gaia, I'll have an episode guide of all the episodes, so you can basically read what's going to happen. I have an outlook on like what's coming up in seasons down the road. We're literally basically going from the inception basically of Homo sapiens all the way down to Egypt and beyond. And also for Stargazer Lyra, you can read basically all about the origin of the universe and what happened, what spawned the Lyran Wars and the different fractions basically. And all the details will be posted on the website. It's kind of like easier if you can just read it as opposed to me trying to explain it, because a lot of the stuff, it's not really that easy to understand. I'm trying to sort of like distill it in a easy to digest form, especially maybe not just for those people who really are into this material. I would love this to have some level of mainstream attraction, and I noticed that from my social media accounts that a lot of people who like follow me for like or the comics, superhero comics, they can't really get into this because it's just obviously really out there stuff. So I'm trying to really on a website trying to pull it all together. So the website should basically be launching any day now. Maybe it's already launched by the time you see this video, otherwise it'll be a couple days later, and you can really dig in deep there. And I will post more and more updates as they get available, and especially storytelling updates with the graphic novel starting probably next week, serialization. And yeah, so that's the story overview video. The next video will basically be about the business aspect of it, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to like break down a couple of the other videos in terms of like the media aspect of it. So one video will be about anime, one video will be about the game, one video will be about the graphic novel. I think that's the easiest for everybody to really completely understand what I'm trying to build here. Also, I want to point out to you, I have another channel. It's the Virtual Graphics, a YouTube channel, where I'm doing sort of behind the scenes things that may or may not involve Sky Gods. But if you're interested in, some of my other projects, especially, for example, Chaos Moon, which is sort of like in the same vein as Sky Gods, but it has less aliens in it. It has more occultism in there. It's sort of more shamanism. So if you're interested in a paranormal per se, you might want to watch some of those videos. And I'll see you back early next week with the business update. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.